what does that mean to all of us that Tom shares? He's been diving into what he's calling non-duality and the aliveness of the present moment. What does that mean to us? What does that mean to you, Tom?
It's like a fizzing, tingling, constantly moving. Um, yeah, it's really dynamic, just kind of flow of yeah existence, and it's amazing to tap into that actually, and kind of try and get out of always being stuck in here and coming more into this amazing thing around it.
Hmm. Hmm. What is that as Jonathan and David and Dimpy join us? This that Tom's speaking of, this aliveness of the present moment. And for him is a fizzling, a tingling, a constantly moving flow of existence. What's it for you, the aliveness of the present moment? And when we talk about self and beingness, do you know it in that as an aliveness of the present moment? Hmm. Go ahead and close our group, the seven of us today. Well, welcome to this adventure and celebration of you and the life that moves through you and how it moves through you, which we sometimes label as parts. Like if we're celebrating that together, celebrating how life is moving through you. Just before we go around and hear from each of us, primary discernment in this game is kind of between the sky, this that's always here, the beingness, that in this model we have this idea that it doesn't come and go, that there's some qualities of being that are nature, this that we might know metaphorically as the sky is always here, and then the thoughts, feelings, and sensations that are more like the weather that comes and goes. How do you discern between the two in your system? Between the sky and the weather, or you might call beingness and content, or we'll label as self and parts often in IFS. But we'll use your language, whatever your language is for that discernment. How do you distinguish that? And then, is beingness always here for you? Is there a sense that different traditions do it different ways? Some there's just a sense of stepping back, or others there's an inquiry. Is it available to you? Is there a place of peace, rest, causeless okayness, flow, ease that's here for you all the time? Do you know that sanctuary is here? Is there a sense that home is here? And you might be like, duh, Sid, I know that. But then the next question is, do your parts know it? Do does the vulnerability that arise in you, does it know that it's not alone? That there is a sense of love, welcoming, okayness here? Does your system know that? I'm gonna unmute in just a moment. And then, does your system know that? How do you discern between the two? And is beingness always here for you? And what's your default quality? When I say the sense of beingness, home, sanctuary, okayness, what's really fun to play with is how it shows up differently in each of us. Some of us know it as there's a presence here, there's a warmth here, there's a like a field of being, there's an okayness, there's a presence, there's awareness, there's love, there's acceptance here, there's flow here. Or for Tom, it was an aliveness of the present moment, a fizzling. And for others, it's just there's presence here, there's awareness here. What is your word for it? How do you know it as here? What's your default? What's and what's that like for your parts? What's that like for what arises in you? Have a sense of, well, there's welcoming here, or there's this fizzling aliveness. What's that like for the parts of you? This is the healing side of our journey. And so let's just go around, and we'll go around a little fast today because there's a whole lot to play with the seven of us. But so my two questions for you are what is the most prominent quality of beingness for you right here, right now? Right here, right now. And then what is your loudest part? And when we say part, it could be thought, feeling, or sensation, or often we quote Rumi, the sense of this guest house. Being human is like a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Welcome and entertain them all. Who are your guests? What's your loudest guest right now? And since we started with Tom, we'll go back to Tom with that question, then we'll just go around everybody. Tom, did we get your quality of beingness, or is there another more prominent one here?
I think yeah, it's interesting because that's like a specific practice I've been doing to find the aliveness. But I think the overwhelming quality of being for me is more of it's a spaciousness or an
Right.
openness. Um,
Spaciousness, openness.
mm,
And then for David and Dimpy, who might be new with us, it is as we hear this, it's like we're in a room together. Like we're in your living room, and we're taking a journey together. And as Tom shares spaciousness and openness, we have also seven facilitators. We kind of going in with each of us. And when we hear spaciousness and openness as the quality of beingness, what's most like that in your system for all of us? Spaciousness and openness. Do we know this? And then, Tom, what's your loudest guest, the loudest part that's here?
I'm not sure. That's really weird. Normally, I don't know. I've got a cold today, so I've had like um, I don't know. I'd say like a kind of protective, don't overexert yourself kind of part. That's yeah, kind of looking after me, which has been quite nice. So yeah, I'd say that's probably my loudest part today, and and also an exciting part about this meeting. I've been really looking forward to it. So yeah.
Nice, thank you. So as we hear Tom share his parts, then don't overexert yourself. A part that's taking care of him, taking care of him. Almost like where there's this universal tuning fork. Can we find a resonance with that in our system? Can we find, well, that's not just Tom's part. I have that part too. Taking care of me. Oh, did I get enough sleep last night? Am I doing all right? And then some excitement, an excited part. He says that, our tuning fork. What's our flavor of that? Excited. Oh, well, I've never met Dimpy. Dimpy and David are here. We got new people we get to connect with. Wow. That's how it plays in Sid, and my friend Jonathan, and Mary's back, and Sharon, who I haven't seen in a week. It's like, what's the excitement? How does that play for you? How do you know that part? Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Jonathan's here. Yay. What's here? How are you? How's your system?
System's good. I just got back from Panama. I was trying to figure out how to describe I liked your question, which I wrote down here. What's the most prominent quality of being right now? And I have no idea how to put words to it. It's really interesting. And I feel like a certain smooth texture in my front that feels very peaceful, I guess, and very uh, words are so bad at describing this that you should come up with a list of like 300 words that might point to this, and people can just pick them off. Um, I guess it feels a little bit like silkiness, and there's a quietness attached to it as well. And then the most prominent
Hey, well,
part,
let's pause. Let's pause for a minute. I don't. Let's just want to include everybody in that. Hear Jonathan describe what's here for him: silkiness, peaceful, quietness, smoothness.
I
Is that
definitely
like
feel
in?
it like this whole part of my body. Um,
Yes. Yeah, just the somatic, the vagina that's very somatic. It's this texture, smooth texture in front he's describing. Just notice, how do you relate to that in your system? And if you're having difficulty finding it, we have Jonathan here as our tuning fork. We can just tune into his square. It's like, oh, now I got it. Now I got that smooth silkiness. What else, Jonathan?
well, that's like the base. And then if I focus in any particular way, like towards gratitude or somebody I care about, it adds another or opens up to a slightly different flavor and often deepens a little bit. So that's kind of fun. And then you know me, Sid, there's always a doer self around that is trying to accomplish stuff, which is interesting because I'd be in Panama and there'd be nothing to do. So, but you know, it's kind of like, well, how can I make good use of this moment? Uh, in one way is deepening and being, but another would be like, well, there must be something to do. I'm in the middle of the jungle with no Wi-Fi. Uh, so that, you know, that's just like a habitual self that is there a lot.
Yes. And so for all of us, when we hear this endearing part of Jonathan's, this doer part. Like even when he's in the jungle, like no Wi-Fi, and the part still, how can I help? How can we get something done? How can we do something? How we can accomplish something? Like when you hear that in Jonathan, can you hear the endearingness of this part that's trying to help, committed to help? Because it can be easier to hear it in others, to have like love and compassion for the parts in others in our own system. And then this doer part that Jonathan's describing, can you do the tuning fork and find your version of it? And when you touch that, can you enjoy it as well? Can you see the endearingness of this part that's always doing? You maybe right now, there's like, what are you doing on a Saturday morning hanging out on this Zoom? There are things you need to be doing. It's like, there it is. Anything else you'd like to share, Jonathan?
Um, I do like the idea of creating a list of every conceivable word for beingness.
That would be fun.
Mhm.
Thank you, Jonathan. So how's everybody? Before we go to David, how's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? And just notice what's here for you now. Like if I ask you, how are you? Does it go to a part? Oh, this is fun. I'm enjoying this. Or maybe I'm a little tired, or hey, this is a little boring. Or does it go to a part? Or does it go to beingness? Oh, there's just some calmness here. There's some peace. There's some of that quietness and silkiness that Jonathan was speaking of. or is it both? How are you? Is it part, being, or both? And then before we go to David, and then here we all are, here now, 7 of us together in this moment together. It's like, oh, here we go. We can just relax. I don't have to figure anything out. The parts that are working, here we are. And then we get to meet David. Hey, David. Oops, muted.
I was muted.
Oops. Oh, wait, David, before you say something, I forgot I need to do my housekeeping. And let me just do that quick for the folks up that you've all read that I'm not a psychotherapist and this isn't the IFS of psychotherapy, rather friends and colleagues exploring together. And if everybody's good, kind of being responsible for their own journeys, I could get a thumbs up from you. Great. And then the other thing is I always have the recording on because I'm wanting to make this available for others who can't come as we explore these edges of IFS. But a couple things. One is only my image will be shared. Your image will never be shared. However, things that you share orally might be shared electronically with this. So please listen to your protectors. And also there's a little difference in our work here. We don't go into the stories of the parts. Instead, we try to go even deeper to hear what they're longing for and help them find that fulfillment here. And lastly, if there's anything at all you find that you said that's like, whoa, I didn't mean to say that, or that's not so good, stay on at the end with me and just let me know, and I can easily delete that from the recording. So if everybody's good that this is recorded and might be shared, can I get a thumbs up from you, please? All right, David, you're on.
I'm on. So who's on? Okay, so the question of how is being showing up? Yeah, so there's a shift that occurs, and sort of like after that shift, I notice kind of a impartiality and an enjoyment of whatever's happening through all of the sense gates and thoughts and feelings. There's just like whatever shows up is like, okay, that's what's happening. And yeah, that's kind of a touchstone for me a lot of the time. That sense is not always present, but when it is, it's like, oh yeah, I know what that is.
And can you touch that right now? That's what's happening. That's what's here.
Yeah.
And when you're yes. And so as that, what's it like somatically?
Yeah, I was just going to say, your question about the predominant part or something that's here, and it's like what arises with that question is a slightly greater sense of body sensation, kind of overall, but moving, and it's not like there's particularly a preference for that, but the noticing of that is just really quite enjoyable. And every time but I also have to say that listening to everybody else, whenever somebody else is going, it's like there's kind of like a recognition, like, oh yeah, that's me too, or I got that too. And so there's a lot of appreciation there.
Like then, for your experience of the weather, it's known as the sensations in the body, to be met by this almost this impartiality, this enjoyment, this sense of that's what's happening, just this presence. What's that like?
It's quite peaceful. It's like undisturbable. Although it kind of, yeah, that puts it more negatively than it feels like. It feels very, very positive.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, we're really gonna dive in, and we're gonna give the that's what's happening a real workout today. And so and but as we all hear David speak of this, that beingness is in his system is just like a kind of just a recognition of what is, an openness, this impartiality, this enjoyment. That's what's happening, this presence. You know, Byron Katie calls, I think, something similar to what David's pointing to, just a loving what is. But what's your version of it? Of this, like it's almost beyond acceptance. It's like beyond, it's more intimate than acceptance or welcoming. What's your flavor of that for all of us? David, before we go on, is there anything being new with us? Or is there any kind of special request for today that comes or special interest?
I didn't bring anything like that. Something may happen and I'll get back to you, I guess.
Great.
But I'm good.
Great.
I'm good.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mary, hi.
Morning. So for your first question, okay, so my default is my heart center. The word for it today anyway is home, just home. And it's like somebody put Vicks Vapor Rub on there. I mean, it's always just warm and let's see, is there a word? Just home. That's the word. And then the body, there's always when I tune into my body, there's always like a humming, a silent humming, a silent buzzing feeling that until recently, till a few months ago, I labeled anxiety, and the label fell away. It was like, oh, this is just what it feels like to be alive. So yeah, there's a humming and there's a wholeness and homeness. So that's my sort of defaults. And then the part that always comes up is one of my loudest parts is, am I doing it right? Because instead of being the spaciousness and which is, it's always there, but my default is home. And it's like, well, should I be spacious or is it okay to be here? Should I be out or in? And so that's my little part. And I forgot to let you talk more about, anyway, that's kind of the whole picture right now.
Beautiful. So as we all hear Mary, some of us might be thinking, oh, we've done it. We go to groups and people introduce themselves and then the event gets started. That's not what we're doing here. We're in the depths of this exploration, because at least half of the EIFS exploration is becoming more intimate with qualities of being. And we have, as we hear from Mary with hers, the silent humming of the body. How do you make sense of that in your system? Some people speak of frequency or vibration or an alive stillness of being. How does that translate into your system? And then she uses the word home. She uses the word home as what beingness is for her. What is that for you? Do you use that word, or is there a different word like sanctuary, peace, love? And then she has a part, to do it right part. We all know that. Can we all resonate and find like just our version of that? And then for that part, or for whatever, for our parts that are here now, when they hear the word home, I hear Mary speak of home, that home is here, the possibility that home is here. It's not something that we have to do after we succeed, we make this money, we get our partners better, the politics change, that home is here now. Like, what's that like for your parts? The possibility that home, or some people use the word fulfillment, is here now.
Hmm.
We're just going into the heart of this together. Thank you, Mary. Dimpy from our Facebook group. Yay! Hi.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. Um, my experience of being, I think while Jonathan thinks of the 300 words, I'll stay with the somatic part of it. So for me, I think I resonated with Mary when she said the humming. I hadn't put the word humming, but it was like this soft vibration in my heart space. Like as if, I mean, there's a little gap between stillness and doing something, and that's like what being is feeling like, you know, the essence of like, you know, there's a soft humming and there's the soft vibration and just some movement, which is just making me realize that I'm still, but yet I'm alive, and I'm in this space of being. So that really felt like very, very, when you asked me the question, I honestly did not know what it would look like, but while I was experiencing it, this is what's like really coming up. It's all here.
Dimpy, let me just pause for a moment. For all of us, as we hear Dimpy speak of this soft humming in her heart, or even better than that, we just feel, we feel her square, we feel the vibration. We feel what she's being here, the gift she's bringing to us. How does that translate to your system? And what's that? Is it nice for your parts to notice that, wow, there's this soft humming here of the heart that's here, right here in me? You don't have to go anywhere. It's here now. And then Dimpy, what else? What do you find? What do you find that there's a part here, that there's an expression? What do you find? What's here for you?
From the parts, I think my part is also, this is my first time. So there's a part of me which is excited, but there's also a part which resonates with what Mary said. Am I doing this right? Like, is this how it's meant to be done? Like, you know, will they like me? Like, you know, there's a part of me which is like, oh, will I be liked? You know, am I adding any value? So there are questions around this.
Beautiful. I'm just going to invite all of us, if we can just tune in on Dimpy right now as we hear her parts. Be able to see them or hear them or feel them, these parts in hers. Like she described a number of parts. This part that's excited to be here. Another part, am I doing it right? A part, are they going to like me? Am I going to belong here? Another part, am I going to have anything to contribute? And we get a sense of those, like just almost like a photo, like we're seeing a photo of Dimpy where we get to see all these parts of hers. As if you're able to see all of that as we experience her or know it thematically or resonate with it. And notice, how do you, when we hear these precious parts of hers, how does your system respond to it? Is it like, oh, wow, how beautiful? Or is there maybe another part comes up that has thoughts about it? But just notice how we respond to her. Is it from beingness or is it from a part as we notice her system? The reason we do this is now before you move, I'm going to invite you just to notice your parts that are here. Maybe they're very similar parts to Dimpy's. Excitement, do it right, connection, contribute, meaning. And how do we see our parts? How do we view our parts? Is there a sense of awe, appreciation, wow? Or a sense of, oh, I don't like that one that wants to do it right. That's just contract. I don't like that one so much. I like the excitement a lot better. Anything else you'd like to share, Dimpy?
No, I think there's so much feeling and there's so much like, my just heart's very full right now. So
Beautiful. Thank you.
thank you.
Heart is full right now. This fullness of love. This heart is full. Like, is it connection? Is it play? Is it excitement? And is that a nature of our being, this full heart, or is it kind of supported by a part that's having a nice experience for all of us? Thank you, Debbie. Wow, and now we have Sharon to come to. And but it just before you say anything, Sharon, just for all of us, as we see Sharon, what's there? What's beingness? What is the beingness that's in Sharon? That's what's most prominent for her. And what are her parts? What's her loudest part? What do we think it's going to be? What is it as we're exploring as community together? Sharon, tell us what's here.
The beingness, it's almost like there's two levels of beingness today. There's the humming or energy piece, which is what I usually connect to. But under that, there is just a deep, deep quiet and spaciousness that is just so peaceful. That's just really not like anything else. And my parts that are here today, I have one part that I came in with, which is fear around technology. When I have to do something new with technology, I have a fear. It's like touching a hot stove for me. Like I get very nervous. And there's another part that's like hyper vigilant, watchful, protective, like just
Nice.
yeah, I don't know how else to describe it. Like I just
Nice.
needing to keep myself safe,
Let me invite everybody into this. As we hear Mary's system, be able to resonate, do that tuning fork with her to know it, like to see her system, know it, to welcome her intimately. This humming energy she describes, and beneath it, the deep, deep, quiet spaciousness. That like for you as you tune into those two qualities or one of those qualities, a deep, deep, quiet spaciousness. And parts, a part that is hyper vigilant for safety. What's your version of that? Can we find the appreciation for, wow, are we happy that Sharon has this part that's just taking care of her? Like no matter what, bottom line, it's got to be safe. We got to keep it safe. We got to be watchful. Can we really fun that, because sometimes these parts can be really loud, that like, hey, you got to be safe, and they can really seem like a pain in the butt. But can we not just love that Sharon has got that part? All right, here we are, and we will, the 7 of us, qualities of self that we've been exploring together. Maybe there's a sense of a connectedness here as we've gotten to know these qualities of self. And again, are they just individualized? Is it Sharon's humming in Tom's alive present moment? Or is it just humming, beingness in present moment, aliveness that we all know? I'm going to do something a little different today as we explore. As we rest here as beingness, as the qualities of beingness that are here for us, can we be simultaneously aware of our parts? Let's just start here. And if it helps to close your eyes, because I'll just guide us for 10, 15 minutes in this. Just all notice the beingness that's here. Maybe it's just this love of what is, this okayness, quietness, peacefulness, soft vibration, sense of warmth and home. And then just to invite, to let yourself maybe even sink in a little bit more into that. To like to sink in further into this quietness, this peace, this hum, this heart, this home, welcoming what is. And simultaneously, can we be aware of our precious voices that appear in our system? Maybe it's a healer part. Oh, is this going to be helpful? Maybe it's a spiritual achiever. Oh, I want to know more of this quietness and of this humming. I want deeper, more. Maybe it's a part that wants to make sure this is going to be safe. Can we notice our parts? And this is where it gets a little harder. I'm going to invite you to see if you can be aware of 2 or more parts at the same time here. And maybe it's like David's system, where he just feels the sensations in his body, knows the sensations. Maybe it's all somatic. But if it is, can we know it all, like looking at a photo where we see it all in one view? Or maybe it's like an image of, we often use the metaphor of like an infinite hot tub of beingness. And these parts, these arisings, they're all soaking in the hot tub, or maybe they're soaking in your heart. Or maybe they're all soaking in this vibration, in this hum. Or maybe it's more like the sky, the galaxy, and the parts, these arising are like planets, and they're just feeling the warmth, the care, a sense of being held. If you're having any difficulty, my invitation is to become aware of the space behind you. As you're aware of that space behind you, we'd be aware of the space that we are, this beingness, this aliveness, this acceptance, this hum, this peace, this home. And then can we also be aware of what we might call the foreground, the voices, the sensations. If you can see a couple, at least a couple. Maybe there's a part that's like, where are we going? How long is this going to go on? Or am I doing it right? where this feels nice. I like the feel of this beingness. Can we be aware of them all? Can we see them like they're soaking in beingness or being held or loved or aware of? And then from here, I'm going to bring a couple parts into the equation. And then it's just to notice how your system responds. If it responds from a part or if it responds from beingness. I'm just a part saying, this should be different inside of you. Something should be different. When you hear this, what's the response? Is there a part that comes up? Like, what do you mean this should be different? How do I do this different? What are you saying? This is all confusing. Maybe we notice that part. This should be different. Be met by self. Is there a sense of welcoming? Okayness here, this humming, this welcoming of this part. Another voice. You know, there are a lot of things you need to be doing. You have a to-do list. There are important things for you to do. What happens when you hear a part like that? It just met by the spacious openness, by the love, by the welcoming. Is it just seen in its innocence as a part that's trying to help? Or is there also another part that comes up and responds, oh, you're right, I do have a lot I need to do. And if a part responds, can all of those parts be met and welcomed by you? Here's another part that comes up sometimes. It's a comparing part. Oh, your sister, you should be more like what Mary was describing. This heart, or what Sharon was describing, the humming. You'd be better off. You'd be better off if it was happening differently in you. When you hear that voice, what happens? Can you hear the sweetness of it? The innocence of it? Or does a part come up and agree with it? Oh, you're right. I'd really be better off if I was doing this differently. And if a part meets it, can all of those parts be met by this infinite hot tub, by the spaciousness, by the hum, however your system's doing? And so what's here now? What's the loudest part in you at this moment? And as you're aware of that loudest part, can that be met and welcomed by beingness? And as you're aware of the loudest part, let's also be aware of what else, does something else arise? Does a part come up and comment on it or respond and react? And if so, can we see both those parts, at least those two parts? You see both of them. Can you be aware of both of them? And what's the space that's aware of them? What's the quality of beingness that's here? Is it that aliveness? Is it the welcoming? Is it the love? Is it the seeing? And then let's take another turn for just in that last couple minutes here. as we're aware of our parts, what do they want? What do our parts want? Or if that doesn't, the question doesn't really work, what do you want? What is that you want for fulfillment, for happiness, for peace, for home? What is it that you want? As you notice the answer that comes up, see if you can find the part that really resonates with that. What is it that you want? Is it what Sharon was speaking of, the safety, this part, safety? What is it that you want? Is it what Mary was describing, the sense of home? What is it that your parts want? Is it what Tom was describing, this aliveness, this flow? What is it that your parts want? Is it what David describing, the sense of just what's happening? It's like an acceptance of what is, a welcoming of the parts just as they are. What is it that your parts are most longing for? And as you notice it, can you even feel the longing of the parts? If the parts that are wanting safety. Tom spoke of a tenderness of his parts, these tendernesses of his parts that were just to be welcomed, to be heard, to be seen. What do our tender parts long for? What do they long for? And can you feel that longing? Can you feel the want? Maybe like a hungry child, like a child that's asking for something. No, I need this. I really want this. What is it that your parts are longing for? As you hear, see, or feel that longing, almost done. What's most like what your parts are longing for, what you are longing for that's here now? What's most like what's being longed for that's here now in your intrinsic nature, in your being? Most like it. Is it longing for safety, okayness, flow, causeless love, connection, belonging, expression, being seen, being heard, being celebrated, being welcomed? What is it that you and your parts are most longing for? And what's most like that which is here? And can your parts, last question, can your parts feel that? Can they taste that? Can they touch that? That it's here? And how do they get it? Is it like the warmth that Mary was describing? Is it a warmth, more of a quietness? Jonathan was describing a peace. How do they feel that this is here, that what they're longing for, even a little glimpse of it is here? How do they know that? What's their experience of that? Is it a sense of being held? Is it connection? Is it love? Is it home? What's it like for you, for your system to taste that, to taste the possible fulfillment that's here now? What's it like? And we are done. We are done. We have done our marathon. We can just shake our shoulders. We can relax. Woo! That was a lot. That was a lot. Our parts are like, whoa, that was really confusing. I didn't follow all that. That was too much. We are done. We're coming back together. We're just, the rest of the time, we get to go around in here and celebrate what happens in each of our systems. And there's no right way of doing this. This is all about you. We're celebrating you and your system. And what happened for you or what's here now. This is a celebration of you. The celebration of life, of how it's playing in each of us, and of welcoming, of coming home for our systems, that our parts get to come home. They get to taste more and more that home is here. And Jonathan often leaves on the hour, so why don't we, if we can start with him, and then I'll try to go in the same order so there will be no surprises. Jonathan, what's up?
Well, I love your meditations, Sid. They're very effective. You should put out a product of them. You said something that I wrote down here that I liked. What's most like what is here now that you are longing for? And um, there's one experience that I think I actually as I get into the detail that I like the most. And so that question is kind of a guided meditation in itself. And from the Finder's Course, you know, they talk about sinking in as the main technique. So that's kind of like the question that leads to that specific sinking in.
What did you find? What did you find in your system with this?
There's kind of a base system of quietness and peace that then, depending upon what I'm looking for, I can tune to either a sense of wisdom or compassion or love. And I sometimes will play with just tuning into one or the other. Yeah, they all feel great. And then
And
there's trying to bring all of them into like the fullness of each of those frequencies being there simultaneously.
could you find in your system with the arisings, with the thoughts, feelings, sensations, these parts, could you find some longing for those three beautiful words, the wisdom, wisdom, compassion, or love?
Is that a question? I didn't get
Yeah,
the
it's
question.
kind of a question. It's like we were finding there was I love, we want to go back just for all of us when Jonathan speaks of, he finds this 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 peace, and I lost the other word, if it was quiet, this peace, and that it opened up into a sense of wisdom, compassion, or love, kind of depending on what was needed in the system. How does that
Just
translate for all of us? Sorry.
I just had the image, you know, how every color in the world is based on like three primary colors. And you can kind of create every color through three primary colors. You can almost create every experience of higher consciousness through maybe wisdom, joy, and love, or something like that, or peace, joy, and love. And depending on how much you have of each of those, it has a unique vibration.
How about that? This takes us back to what Jonathan was pointing to at the very beginning. It's like qualities of beingness. There's like 100. Let's make a list of the 300 qualities of beingness. But then playing with this, the idea that if we can go like a little lower, in this, that we can go a little deeper, we can find that there's an essence that they can come from, as Jonathan speaks of this wisdom, this peace, this love, this joy, this compassion. And that perhaps like of the primary colors, that all of these qualities of beingness can arise from those, kind of depending on what's being called for in our system, perhaps like what our parts, what the moment is evoking. How is that for you? Does that translate for all of our systems, something like that? Or what's your version of it as we're with that? Jonathan, anything else? This is very interesting.
No, I think that's good for now.
Thank you. So what are your primary colors for all of us? What are your primary colors of beingness? Because we know that, like, if we go really, really deep, if we keep going deep, when you listen to the folks on YouTube, they'll say, oh, you go beneath qualities. There's only equanimity. There's only isness. There's only beingness. There's no descriptions for it. But then if you go up just a little step above that, if there were primary colors for you of this beingness before we get to all of the 300 qualities, what would those primary colors be for you? They would be like Jonathan's: the wisdom, the joy, the peace, the love, the compassion. Do you have different words for it? Well, that was fun. That was new. Thank you, Jonathan. So go back, Tom. Where are you going to take us with all this? What happens for you, or what's happening for you?
That was really amazing. Actually, it was really. I went into a really interesting space. There's some interesting parts that come up for me. There's a quite a strong part that's like, it's like the winner part, and it's always convinced that it's the best person in the room at everything that it does. And it doesn't matter who I'm with or what I'm doing. It's always like, oh, you're absolutely smashing this. You're doing so well. You know, you're like, and you know more than everyone else, and all. It's just, and it goes all the time. It's like really funny. And normally I have quite I'm like, oh my God, shut up. You know, you literally have no idea what you're talking about. But bringing that awareness and kind of like being like, okay, grabbing those two at the same time and seeing them kind of interacting with each other was really nice. It was like nice to notice that.
Wait, what was the other one? The winner part, and what's the other part?
The other part is like it's like the part that basically tells the winner to get off its, you know, to get off its podium and calm down because it doesn't know anything. You know, it's like, yeah, it's more of a like, yeah, I don't know what I'd call it, but it's like a, you know, calm down part.
Nice. Okay, so Tom, let me just invite everybody in this. It's like we were laughing at Tom's winner part, like, hey, I'm this, I'm the best, I know this. But when we hear it, can we hear the endearingness of it in here? Like we can, can't we? We can hear the endearingness of this part. Notice that. You can hear the endearingness of I know more, I know this, and I know that. And it's like, and then as we can we find that in our own system? It's often a protector part that comes in. It's like, no, you got this. You know this. You're better. Can we touch the endearingness in our own system of this part? And where this is sweet, because then we have people in the world who we find like, God, that person is so obnoxious. That's that. But it's just this endearing part. It's just this part, this protector part. See if we can find just the endearingness of that. All right, back to you, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's so nice to see it as endearing, because for a long time I've been aware of it and been pretty frustrated with it. So it's just nice to kind of see it in that light. It's really, yeah. And I don't know, there was I felt very spacious in that meditation, and there was a lot of kind of tingling and kind of radiant kind of light movements behind my eyes. And when you said, can you feel the longing for the part of those parts, I felt this tug, like this inward tug kind of towards, wasn't even sure, you know, just this kind of generalized, like, you know, wanting things. And the answer that popped up was like, I've been kind of convinced it's safety, but actually the answer that popped up was love. It was just like, they just all wanted love, you know. Yeah.
And then when I asked, again, for all of us, as Tom's pointing to, like, what is it? If there was one thing your parts wanted most, what would your word be for that? Like he thought, oh, it might be safety, but it seems more like love in his system. What's the word for you? And maybe it's one of Jonathan's primary colors. What's most longed for? And then Tom, when you heard that it was longing for love, and the question was, what's most like that love that's here now? What did you find?
Yeah, those words kind of failed at that point. There's, you know, I don't know. It's here. It's not like what you describe as love in the kind of normal Valentine's Day heart on a card kind of sense. It's more of a, just like a yes to everything, like a completely profound acceptance of absolutely everything, you know. Yeah, and but it feels more than that. It's almost like it's more than acceptance. It's, I don't know, it's really difficult to describe, but it's like, yeah, it grabs things and it's like, yes, you know, I love you, you know, and it does that for everything. Yeah, it's really nice.
about what Tom just shared about this love? That it was like a grab you love. Like I love you, man. Yes. this love. It's like, what's your flavor of it? And for some of us, it might be more like David's. It's that sense of that's what's happening. It's just this it's an intimacy. It's just a sweet intimacy. Or it might be more of the humming that's just here. This beingness is just here. Everything is of this presence. And there's just a welcoming from it. Or it might be more visceral, but it's like, what do your parts need? Right? For a lot of our parts, it might be like, hey, this is good. We can just this acceptance is all that's needed. It's like I'm being accepted, I'm being seen. But for some of our parts, it's like we've all gone. None of us are teenagers. We've all gone through life. And with that, there are parts of us that have been kind of wounded, that haven't been accepted, that have been rejected, that have been hurt, that have had breakups. And they're remnants of these parts that might still be in our system. And it's like, for some of these parts, the acceptance just isn't enough, or the being seen or being heard is not enough. For some of them, they need more. What they need, and then I often like saying this, like sometimes I say what they deserve. I can't really back that up, but I'm going to say that, like, what they deserve is more. Is this, hey man, I love you, or this just almost a devotion, a celebration, and awe of appreciate. It's like the depth of that. Some of our parts really need more for the healing of our system, for the welcoming home. They're almost like children. Sometimes they're young parts that just don't know that home is here. They're still a little frozen. What do they need in your system? What do they need? Anything else, Tom?
Nothing particular. I think because I'm tired from the illness, at one point it just kind of all fell into like almost a half dream kind of state, and then I was really confused about what was happening and what I was supposed to be doing, but it didn't seem to matter. It was just like, yeah, it was just like that alive. It was just kind of all moving. Yeah, it was really, really cool. So yeah, I think that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom.
Thanks.
Noticing, like, sometimes, as from a Jewish background, like my favorite holiday is Christmas because I just love it. And then it's like this sense of, could it still be Christmas? Like we're receiving gifts from Tom here. What gifts are we receiving from each of us? What are we receiving from what Tom just shared? And again, is anything that you've heard today, is it foreign to you? Or can we find it with this shared humanity, this tuning fork? Able to find it all. Just as we continue, as we go to David, just notice, is this David speaking about his system? Or is he speaking about his system and also resonating and pointing to ours? Take us somewhere, David. What you got for us? Oh, muted.
Bing, there we go. The part that really woke up here, which has been happening throughout this gathering, is like every time anybody says something, I go, oh yeah. Connection or love, or I'm not sure exactly what the right word is, but it's like, I am that too. That's also, I don't know. So the connectedness feels really good, and like recognitions of universality of what we're all trying to go through. Something more. I did notice this part that came up says, oh, I have to remember this idea so I can get back and do this again, and and then there's judgment about that. The old judging self, oh yeah, I don't need to remember this. Come on, it's like whatever is here, so just don't try to grab onto the damn thing so hard. But the
Can we
judgment part is like they're all incompatible on one level, but it's paradoxical. On another level, it's like, oh, okay, it's all working.
Can we all relate to that David's sharing? This part that's like, well, that was good. I want to remember. I want to remember that. And another part's like, oh, come on, judging. Come on, just be here now, right? And it's can we, notice those parts and what's our version of that? And if we hear them in David, don't we just adore it? Don't we just adore this part? It's like, well, that was good. I want to hold on to this. And another part that's like, just, hey, man, just relax. It's like, can we just like adore those parts in him? See their innocence and how they're there to serve. And then as we notice the resonance and notice them in ourselves, the one that's like, sometimes it's trying to take notes. Oh, this is good. I want to remember this. And then can we just see how that part is there for us? It's not a problem. And then David spoke about connection, this like shared humanity connection. What does that open up for you? Because often in these spiritual journeys, this is for all of us, and then we'll see what you got on this one, David. For all of us, we often think of, and actually Mary had this happen yesterday in our group. She went into, what you might call like the bliss of being, the unity, the oneness. She just kind of fell into this field. And then she was like, wait a minute, but I'm not just wanting to stay here. I'm wanting the experience. I'm wanting the fullness of experience as well. In this connectedness, in this human connection, this game we're playing with the tuning fork, knowing it all. It's like, what about the beauty in that? And, Thich Nhat Hanh has this poem that just makes me cry every time. It says, call me by my true names. And it's like he speaks of all of these different people on the planet as his true names, opened up to that, this connectedness and this humanity. What else do you have for us, David? Anything else you'd like to share with us?
Yeah. This is really a heck of a lot of fun here because there's something the thing that's being released is a need to gradate or this is better than this kind of thing. And you've been using this word, Sid, the endearing quality of these things which sometimes pop up initially catalyzing judgment. It's like, well, okay, I know that. I mean, that another flavor of that is discernment. Oh, well, discernment, that's a good thing. Judgment, no, that's a bad thing. So yeah, that's all floating around too. So yeah, okay, I'm good. It's all happening. I said that before, and that's yeah, okay. I'm really yeah, we're all good together. I feel like the group has a quality of togetherness, which is very, very. I love it. I love you. We're working together. It's really nice.
Oh, isn't this nice that we don't have to do this on our own. We don't have to do it on our own. Like we're holding each other's hands. And we don't, it's like these qualities of beingness, we help to find them through each other. We get to know them more intimately together so that our systems can come home, to help them, that our parts, everything can come home, to find that it's here, to support each other in this. Just this last thing, just for the fun of it. It's like this, like Jonathan speaking about the primary colors. Because sometimes it's more of like this beingness, it can be like they describe it as empty and full, right? It can be like wisdom or love. And it's like this endearingness with our parts. There's such a sweetness in this, in that one of my mentors is Dick Schwartz, who developed EIFS. He found his system he went much further into this, not into kind of Tom was talking about studying non-duality and doing non-duality, not into kind of the non-dual of it, but he went differently. He went into the foreground. He found it by going into the foreground and the endearingness of his parts, in literally falling in love with all of his parts, just saying love. And in that love, there's no separation. And it's just another way to get to the same place Tom was talking about actually before everybody came on. But there's just such a fullness in that, and getting to play in that together as well. So just for all of us, how this goes for you. Any final words, David?
No, thank you for all of these gifts that each of you are bringing, that I see I am that as well. Yeah, that's all I got. And it's enough.
Awesome. It's enough. It's enough. Oh, beautiful. All right, Mary, what's happening?
Well,
How's
first off,
the hum?
the hum is good. Yep, humming along. I have to say, and again, I don't, but Tom, I'm envious. Envy came up because you have this part that's like, I'm the best, I'm great. And I don't have that part at all that I'm aware of. My default is hypercritical. It's not anymore, thank God, but my default used to be just hypercritical. That was my programming. And so it's like, wow, I didn't even know part was an option. So I'm kind of glad to bring it on board. So thank you for pointing that that's even an option. So
Mary,
there's that.
Quick question, Mary. As we hear Tom's part, the I'm great, I'm a winner. We hear that part, and we also hear a hypercritical part. As we listen for what they're both each longing for, how they're serving us, for all of us, like, can we find even a similarity between those parts as far as the role they're playing for us? Like, what are they wanting?
What comes for me is to feel okay. Either like my critical part is trying to get me to be the best, and Tom's part is wanting him to stay the best. I don't know. I don't mean to interpret for Tom, but yeah, they're just wanting to be okay. It sounds like for me.
Yeah.
Feels like.
Nice. What else you got for us, Mary?
Yeah, my craving, my kind of pervasive craving is for safety, for feeling safe. And that's what all of my parts are always looking for. It may, like, what was it that was before safety? It was something that, certainty. That's the other thing that my parts are wanting. Like, I want to know, is this right? Is this what I'm supposed to do? And it's like, so I was like, yeah, you want certainty, because not knowing is scary. Living in the mystery of the unknown is scary, but that's actually one layer above safety. When I've looked at it, certainty, I would feel safe. So it all for me comes back to wanting to feel safe. Having the right answer, safety. It's all my little parts just want safety.
And this is a more difficult one to find. Like, there are these qualities of beings that Jonathan's speaking of, maybe 300, however many each of us find. Some of them are easier to find. Like in the EIFS model, we start off with like calm, clarity, connectedness, compassion. But then safety, intrinsically here, safety here, finding that, where it's like safety, and some other ones like freedom. These can be more difficult. Like, could you find a taste of safety, or maybe okayness can be like a more accessible version of that, for like a little shallower.
Yeah, that's what's yeah, and that's how I kind of found it when I was going through that. Was like, I'm here, and now is always safe. And so yes.
Whoa. So really, like, your system can find it, like the here now in this the presence here now is always safe. that's really quite a gift for your parts, for your whole system. If they can really hear, if you can find that.
It doesn't quite believe it. The part that's I want safety part doesn't quite believe it yet, but I know, it's a process, and that's, yeah. So to hold those.
Feel like, what's that like? It's this here now. In the here now, there's safety. Is there any somaticness of any kind of somatic expression? Anything that you can, indicators of this as we know the safety that's here? Just for the rest of us as we play with this. Anything you could share with that, Mary?
There's a lot of gratitude, because until I came home to myself, my decisions don't necessarily meet society. My decisions of life, that choices I've made, didn't fit in with what was acceptable. And now that I found what I'm looking for, the gratitude is just like, I didn't screw up. I didn't make wrong choices. They all were leading me here. And I'm glad I didn't follow the path of, that I was society's path, right? And so it was like all along, it's like, is it gonna be the right thing in the end? And like, yes, you did it. And so, yeah. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but that's what comes up. Just the gratitude for everything.
Oh. For all of us. For all of us, as Mary says, now that I've found what I was looking for. Notice your parts that are finding what they were looking for, that are starting to touch. Wow, there's maybe some safety here. There's acceptance right here. There's being known, seen, welcomed here. Like, it doesn't have to be like big fireworks, right? Whoa, wait, home is here. There's peace, there's safety, there's love here. I'm on top of the mountain. No, it could just be like, wow, there's presence here. There's acceptance here. There's some love here. For parts that are touching that, what's it like for them to find what they were looking for is here? Like, we're hearing Mary's version of it for her experience. There's just kind of a gratitude. Wow, it was okay. I didn't make horrible mistakes. Like, the story has a happy ending. Everything worked out okay. Anything else, Mary?
No, just, yeah, it's just, I know it's happening. Even when I get scared or whatever, it's like, yeah, it's all coming. It's okay. Just everything's fine. Just keep going. You're doing fine. You're doing great.
Notice.
So thank you.
Yes. For all of us, as we are exploring this together, as we've created this field of love and care and support together and celebration of each other's systems. And then the sense of I know everything's okay. It's going to be okay. Like, notice, like, there might be a part that's supporting that. Might be a helper part that's like, yeah, and then there's this okayness from being this recognition. Wait a minute, like, it really is okay. Everything really is okay here. For all of us, what's our flavor of that? Like, is it okay? Is everything okay just as it is? Can we touch a little flavor of that? Or perhaps it's the word acceptance instead, or it's Rumi's word, welcoming. Can we touch that? What's that like? Final words, Mary? Anything else?
No, I think that
Good.
wraps it up. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Mary. Dippy, what we got?
So I had so much resonance with everybody that I've kind of like forgotten what was my initial thought. It's with Tom saying that, like, that reminded me, him saying that wanting to be the best in I would have a part which would always think that I'm not enough, like I'm not good enough to be here. So this was such a beautiful reminder that, you know, that's also a possibility. And I teared up a little when David was sharing towards the end. I think he just dropped down and said, we're all okay. And we're good together. And that part of me which was seeking belonging and connectedness, I think that just kind of like, you know, immediately like you settled in, like warm water, like it just felt so soothing and so beautiful. So forgive me if I've forgotten what I was supposed to say. It's all because of what David said.
It's David's fault, David.
It's David. You did it. I loved what Mary shared. I don't so much resonate. I think I tend to find safety easily. Like I tend to feel like safe with a little bit more ease, but I loved what you shared and how vulnerable you were. And I love the use of endearing, how endearing, like this is one of my takeaways, you know, how gently and how softly you say, don't you see how endearing this is? And then I look at the person, I mean, I'm just like, wow, it suddenly just shifts my entire sense of what I'm looking at. So it's like you said, don't you just adore it? Oh my God, like my heart just melted. I was like, wow, this is just so beautiful. So these are things that have really touched my heart today. But I don't know what I was supposed to say though. So if I missed anything, you could just remind me.
I feel like we should end right here with what Dimpy just shared. But we've got more. I have questions for her, and there's no way we're not going to hear the gifts of Sharon. But that was just it. That was so perfect. Loved it. I have a couple questions for you. You were sharing of your part in contrast to Tom's. It was like you were sharing a part that it went the other way. It's like you're not good enough. And a part that loves, that kind of seeks to belong and connect. So when we hear Dimpy speak of these parts, just like as we've been doing with everybody else, we can see the dearness in these parts. Yes, dearing they are. We can hear the longing, what it's longing for, as we hear the longing of these parts. Greatness in that. Want to connect, want to belong. Maybe I'm not good enough. What's it wanting, right? Okayness, connection, love, everything is okay. Is it a problem when we have those parts show up? When we have the parts that show up really loud and say, you're not doing this good enough. You're doing something wrong. You need to do it differently. If we can hear what the longing is it a problem? If we can see the, you know, or perhaps these are the ones that really help bring us home, because we hear what they're longing for. They're longing for home. They're longing for okayness. And the okayness isn't out there through, oh, I just need to do more and work harder. The okayness is right here. It evokes this beingness that we are. Any final words, Dimpy, on this before we go to our grand finale with Sharon?
I just want to double what David said, that this just seems so okay. Like everything just in this moment seems okay. Like we're all okay in this presence together. That's the only thing that's staying with me.
And are we all okay as we look at our images? as we look at these images, these bodies, these precious parts, is it possible that we are okay just as we are? Just what David was doing earlier, just what is. Well, there's okayness just here, that nothing needs to be done. All right, I'm handing it over to you, Sharon, for our finale.
First of all, Dimpy, your share, I just felt the love emanating from you. Like it was very touching. Just how connected you were to other people's share and how gracious you were. Like that really touched me. So thank you. I had a very vulnerable part that I was kind of resonating with during the meditation. It was the question about longing, and it was like kind of longing for support, not having to face things on my own, not having to like I guess I could say connection, but it's really just having someone on my side to help. I lost my husband recently, and I'm realizing how much I relied on him to be like a moral support or encouragement. And I realized that, like in the quiet, I can listen. I can listen to that part that's scared of being incompetent or making a mistake and not push too hard. Thank you.
Anything that Sharon shared that you can't find in your system. Parts that are longing for support. Perhaps parts that really miss the support that they once had. Parts that have a sense of aloneness. And then one of the gifts of classic IFS, simple IFS of Dick Schwartz is just as it starts, it starts just the 101 of the version. As it starts, it's just being aware of the parts. And as Sharon was describing what was here for her, of this longing for support, if we can notice it as a part of us that's longing for support, then there's this that is aware. That is aware of the longing. And if we can touch that is aware of the parts, is aware of what support. And we can get glimpses of this okayness, this home, this peace that is here, but in no way to exclude the parts that are longing for support and home and care and connection. We get to be, if anything, this today was devoted to celebrating our parts, for loving these parts. Is it okay that this is here? That we have parts that don't find that there's fulfillment here, that like they want it to be different. I want it to be different. It'd be much better if my life was different. As we hear these parts in Sharon and in us, can we see the innocence of these parts that want something to be different? Is there compassion? Is there love for these parts that would like it to be different? And just as we come to a close together, thank you for bringing you here, for the gifts that you offered each of us today. I hope you can hear that. I hope you really can, just as you notice the gifts that each of us gave you. Each of us gave you, if you could, that's what we got from you today. That's what we got from your precious parts. Even the ones that are like, no, not good enough, something's missing. And that's what we got from you. We got to know our system better. We got to fall in love with you and fall in love with us. And I am just so thrilled to meet Tom, Dempsey, and David. Wow. I just hope, I do this a lot. And so I hope if you just found me through our Facebook group, please sign up on my email so you can get the regular invitations. We'd love to have you come lots. This is just such a treat that the three of you bringing in. And then on Facebook, we've got ongoing with my colleague Laura, just these dialogues and these explorations, and just please contribute, be part of with whatever's here as we all explore together. And just in closing, thank you. This is the highlight of my week. Thank you all. Oh.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was great. See y'all later.
Bye.
Thanks.